Hello, my beautiful friend. I am Laurel Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. If we're meeting for the first time, I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And I offer one-on-one angel sessions which take place over the phone. I offer a longer form of support, soul mentoring, and I offer a variety of classes designed to inspire your spirit. In addition, I have a beautiful Earth Angel Oracle deck that now comes in 2 sizes. Because why have only one size when you can have 2? So one is a tarot-sized deck that comes in a lovely box, and the other is the exact same deck, but I call it the Tiny Angel deck because it is very, very small. Now, it does not come in a box, but you can certainly put it in a little bag or something. And they're adorable. So if you're looking for a very portable oracle deck, I invite you to look into the Tiny Earth Angels Oracle. I also invite you to come and visit me at my website, illuminatingsouls.com, where you can sign up for my mailing list. There's 2 different places you can sign up for my list on my homepage. The top of the page is my regular ordinary list where you will receive my class announcements, when I have openings for angel sessions, and other forms of communication. Like just yesterday, I let my list know about the video reading I recorded for everybody, which is up on YouTube as well. And then if you move further down the home page, there's a place you can sign up for my daily inspiration email blast, and you'll receive an inspiring email from me every weekday. So lots of ways we can connect, but for now, the angels and I are here to bring you comforting, soothing, loving energy and messages, and to keep you company as you drift off to sleep, or if you're one of our listeners who tunes in during your waking hours, then we'll keep you company as you go about your day. It is my honor and blessing to be here with you right now. So I invite you to take a nice deep breath in and let it out. As the angels join us here, there's a phrase that I say quite often when I am coming into my opening prayer. I always pray right before a session or a class, and I pray out loud because there's something so powerful about receiving prayer. And the phrase is, I invite you to take a deep breath in as we call ourselves forward into the heart of God. And that invitation, it always deepens something for me. Like I invite you to take a nice deep breath in as we call ourselves forward into the heart of God. And perhaps the comfort of that phrase can be directly correlated to each of our individual experiences of God. My experience of God is divine love, divine creation energy. It is home. It is vast. It is compassion. It is all encompassing. So when I invite myself forward into the heart of God, I am comforted. I am held. There is always enough space for everything that I am, the vastness of my consciousness and my experience. Across the timeline of this incarnation and every incarnation, every experience my greater soul has ever had and will ever have. When I feel myself calling myself forward into the heart of God, everything, everyone is loved. And that is the intention of this broadcast, to share that energy with you. So I invite you to take a nice deep breath in. And call yourself forward into the heart of God. And if God is not a word that invokes that for you, you can change it. Isn't that brilliant? You can change a prayer to fit you. So it might be for you that you call yourself forward into the heart of divine love. You call yourself forward into the heart of a loving universe. You call yourself forward into the goodness of life. It's vibrational. So the words that I use to describe the vibration I experience might be different than the words that you use. So, if you ever hear me talking about God, you'll know that I'm talking about this vastness of all that is love, all that is compassion, all that is creation. And if the word God doesn't work for you, I invite you to find your own phrases that invoke that for you. I don't mind. And even if I did, it wouldn't matter. You are a beautiful, sovereign, wise being. And you are the greatest authority on how and when you feel deeply connected with the greater expanse of goodness in this universe. So take a nice deep breath in and just release. And that's an optional thing too. You're going to breathe anyways, so you don't have to breathe when I invite you to breathe. You can be a rebel and say, I'm not going to. I'm going to actually breathe after the invitation. You get to be you. I encourage you to be you. I encourage you to allow the beauty of your spirit to guide you on this path of light. You know, I love getting to serve as a spiritual teacher and a mentor. I'm happy to share with you what I have learned and the tools that have served me over the years. But it doesn't mean that they have to be your tools. Maybe some of them will be. But to take what resonates and just leave the rest. There is not a one-size-fits-all. But what I'm sure of is there is a path that will and does deeply resonate for you. It's like music. We don't all like the same music. I shared with you that I've been obsessed with watching live streams from crystal stores in China. In one of the stores, they have really good stuff, but they play the worst music. And they play it loudly. And as much as I love their crystals, I have a hard time watching because the music is jarring for me. And that can be the truth about so many things in life. What one person loves and feels deeply into, and it opens them up, can be jarring for another. So when it comes to the concept of angels and God, I really invite you to adapt whatever I share with you so that it better serves you. Right? I use God. I love the word, the concept of God. It works for me. And I know for some people, it starts shutting them down because the concept of God has been so badly abused. So, you attune to the words, the concepts, the phrases that best connect you to the wellspring of goodness, of love, of compassion that is here for you. I call them the angels, the divine ones. And the beautiful thing is that the longer I work with the angels, the more I recognize and understand that as a human being, I might feel separate from them. But as a greater soul, I am part of the same tapestry of love that they are, that we are. We are just different expressions of the same light. Like we're all drops of the ocean that is the ocean. So the more that I work with the angels, the more that I connect with the heart of God, the more inclusive it feels, that I am not separate from that. I am that of which I am born. I am that of which I am family. I am that of which I have originated. That I am born of the heart of God, and therefore I am not separate from it. Because if I am born of the heart of God is in the I amness of me. Just like it is in the heart of the I amness of you. So, my beautiful friend, I come to you as a fellow drop of the ocean. So, drop of the ocean to drop of the ocean. We are the ocean. And the love of the divine is the truth of our beingness. And we are other things too, right? But we are not separate from. That the whole universe, the whole world, are the way that consciousness is being expressed in this moment, and consciousness is being expressed in some truly awful, awful ways right now. But in the wee hours of a Friday morning, there is absolutely nothing I can do about that. But I can invite you, my beautiful, sweet friend, into the heart of God, of light, of love with me. We can come into the blanket fort that is Sleepy Bedtime Blessings together and bathe in the love and in the goodness. and allow our energy fields to be cleared through this beautiful heart of God so that we can return to the center of light. That is the truth of all that we are. So the angels are already here, but I am going to say a prayer. I'm going to invite them in so that you know they are here as well. So beautiful angels on high, I rejoice in this opportunity to come together with you, especially for the opportunity to shine love upon our beautiful friends, those listening to this message. Angels, I ask that you bring them comfort. I ask that you bring to them healing and love. I ask that you lift from them anything that feels far too heavy to carry right now. And angels, I ask that you bring forward sweet light, that you bring forward energy that is compatible with a good expanse of sleep. Help our bodies to relax. Help our nervous systems to calm down so that we can get a good expanse of rest. Dear ones, I have shared this vision with you before, but the vision that I get when I ask for this is a beautiful, enormous sphere of pink light that is big enough to embody you and the room you are in and all that you love and all that loves you, so that in a way we are in a beautiful bubble of healing, loving, divine light. You can think of this perhaps as an angelic buffer. And this buffer can travel with you wherever you go, whether it is places you go in consciousness, in your dreams, or even when you are navigating in the physical world. That you travel with the buffer of love and light. So just take a deep breath in and allow this love to soak into you and smooth out the places that feel like there are sharp edges. And I'm going to take that breath with you and take up the angels on that invitation. Help us know, dear God, that we are loved. Help us breathe more easily. Help us connect with that which is good in this world. Help us serve as loving beings of light, that we each might leave the world a little bit better than we found it. That we might do that each day. That we bring forth little morsels of light and goodness as we go about our day, that we may serve as earth angels, helpers, light workers, light bearers, creators of joy and goodness and generosity and sweetness. Thank you, God, for inviting us into this beautiful sanctuary where we might experience this clarity of mission, that we might receive this invitation to Be present to the eternal light that is the truth of each of our spirits. Thank you, God, for the beauty of this moment. Thank you, God, for those that are listening with me right now, wherever they are in time and space, that we are gathered together because wherever two or more are gathered in the name of the divine, the energy field is amplified and miracles are possible. So, dear ones, I just invite you to take another deep breath in. And if you have any prayers or intentions that you wish to share with God and the angels, I invite you to bring them into your heart now. And just breathe, allowing this light to ripple throughout your physical body, your emotional and energetic and mental bodies as well. So I invite you to cozy on up and snuggle on in. And if you are in bed and looking forward to sleep, I invite you to drift off. I'll be here with you. I'll be sharing some stories and some rambles with you, but nothing so important that you have to stay alert. I'm just going to be a loving, rambling companion as you drift off into the great mystery of sleep. So you rest well, and while you rest, I'm going to tell you some stories. So for story time, even as I was plugging in the microphone and getting ready to record, I really wasn't sure what this was going to be about because I don't have a lot of energy right now. It's early morning, and so I didn't want to read something to you because that takes a different kind of focus. I wanted to just ramble to you. I wasn't sure what I could ramble about for the next 40 minutes. And then it came to me, you know what I could ramble about is I could describe my office to you. I'll tell you what brought that forward. My office right now is rather cluttered. Wes and I live in a rather small house, and we have lots of stuff that we love. And so stuff winds up in plastic tubs that we stack on other plastic tubs, and things get crowded. But if you watch my videos or you take classes with me, you would not know about this crowding because what is in the view of the camera is not cluttered. And I was looking around my office being kind of judgy at 5 o'clock this morning. And I thought, how many of us live in two small places that are filled with a lot of stuff? And when I say a lot of stuff, it's not that I'm hoarding, not that there is any judgment on hoarding if that is your experience of your space. But I wind up losing my perspective on what can get thrown out and when. For instance, how many of you have lots of Post-it notes? I mean, Post-it notes, what a brilliant invention. It's a piece of paper that is slightly sticky, but not so sticky that it destroys other things. It is only temporarily sticky. And then you can remove it and throw it away, which works great if you follow through on that cycle. But inevitably, I wind up with, 5 or 6 Post-it notes with random things written on it that I haven't yet thrown out. So one Post-it note, and it is a very lovely shade of light purple, because if I'm going to use a Post-it note, it will be a color that I love. I wrote a few notes about my last podcast episode. So it just says podcast about crystals, as if I would forget that I wanted to record an episode where I talked to you about crystal TikTok, which is the last episode. If you didn't hear that already, it's delightful. I highly recommend listening. And then the other thing I wrote down is self-love and divine love, because that's what I talked about in the first part of that episode. And listen, we're 200 episodes into the podcast, so you know that just about every episode I talk about some form of divine love. So that I was talking about self-love and divine love is not a ginormous revelation. And then I have the number 38 written down. I have no idea why, but I'm quite certain that at the moment the number 38 was written on this Post-it note, it was done with intention, and it meant something to me at the time. Now, my eternal question to myself is, once I was done with the podcast and the number 38 no longer had any relevance to me, why did I not just throw the Post-it note out? So I'm going to throw it out now. I'm going to take a bold step in my life, and I'm going to put it in the garbage. All right, I did that, but I didn't have you listen because that could be disruptive. And I'm slightly horrified that I could probably do a whole episode about the random pieces of paper on my desk. And that would be so embarrassing for me because I would have to witness my own process. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm a messy person. I'm not. I'm ordered. But I just have stuff I don't know when to get rid of. Another beautiful light purple Post-it note says, change start date to 11/14. And that was to remind me to change the start date of my new class, which when you listen to this podcast, it may have already happened, which is a 6-week class on how to create your own oracle deck, which I'm so excited about. And I was originally going to start it on November 7th, but I realized that date wasn't going to work, so I had put a note here to remind myself to change the start date, which I did. So you'd think this Post-it note could now get thrown out. But I have another word unrelated, actually 2 words, and it says altar cards. Because the other day I had this inspiration that I could take some of the angels that I'm creating in Midjourney and create a set of altar cards for people. I love that idea. And I haven't moved that piece of inspiration to another piece of paper yet. So it is on the same Post-it note as the reminder to change the date for my class. So here it will remain until I reorganize my thoughts. And just so you're not getting concerned about the content for this episode, I will not be reading all my random pieces of paper to you because that would not delight me. So we're just going to leave those 2 Post-it notes and just know that those are representative of the random pieces of paper on my desk. But let me share with you some of the things that perhaps might delight you more than my Post-it notes, and delight me as well, because, I like being delighted as I record these episodes. So, the office in our home is kind of a bonus room. When we first bought the house, it was paneled in knotty pine paneling, and I didn't like it. It's right off our bedroom. The only way to access the office is through our bedroom. And when we first moved in, I wanted to paint the paneling white because I thought that would be sort of cottage chic. And everyone, including Wes, they were horrified at this idea that I might paint this gorgeous wood So for the first 8 years we were here, I had the wood paneling. Wes had big oak bookshelves behind me, and there was also a desk here for Wes because he was working with me at Illuminating Souls. And so the office was a different kind of cluttered. Then we had a whole mold debacle, which I will not talk about here because it will not delight me. And we had to completely redo this room. Like everything had to be ripped down to the studs. So I got the room the way I wanted it to be, which is drywalled, right? Beautiful, smooth texture. And this gorgeous pink lilac paint with white crown molding and white baseboards. And it's just beautiful. Like, I love this room so much. Wes did a wonderful job of remodeling it. And not that he did all the work, but this was a Wes thing, because if you listen to the podcast episode, which is a while back about our house, that once upon a time, I had the illusion that I would be good at remodeling things because I had watched HGTV and I enjoyed watching remodeling TV shows, not at all understanding that there was a vast abyss between enjoying watching remodeling and actually physically doing it. Sounds so simple now, right? I am not good at physical labor, and I am profoundly overwhelmed when it comes to any kind of home renovation project. So this office was orchestrated by my gorgeous, beautiful husband. So it has these beautiful pink lilac walls. It's kind of my signature brand color that I love. And I have this kind of very corporate black desk. The only reason it's black and the only reason I have this desk is when Wes and I moved into this house, we needed 2 desks that would fit in this rather small space. And it was 2008, and there had been this, great economic crash, and I looked on Craigslist, and someone was selling 10 desks from a corporate office, and the price was right, and we bought 2 of them. So nothing special about this desk other than it serves as a desk. And I have my computer on the desk, and I have like organizational files, and I have, the pencil cup that has a ton of pens that I never use. Okay, I'm not going to talk about that part anymore because now I'm getting kind of claustrophobic. I'm like, why is all of that stuff there? Why do I have 10 bottles of nail polish on my desk? When you're on social media and someone posts a picture of their workspace and it is white, and maybe they've got the Mac in the corner with a really cute coffee cup and maybe a single peony in a vase. Like the minimalist perspective of working. Okay, that is not my office. I don't know what I would do with nothing. I need things. I'm a thing person. Okay, so in front of my desk is a window, and the window looks out into our side yard, and there's a redwood fence, and then my neighbor's yard is beyond the fence. So I can't really see into my neighbor's yard, but he's an avid gardener. So there's all kinds of greenery that I see above the fence line. And there are squirrels that run back and forth on the fence, and blue jays and birds, and so it's lovely. As I work, I look out and I see a lot of beauty and a little bit of nature, and it delights me. Okay, as we pan clockwise, and the wall in front of me, sort of in the front of me, it's actually over to the right a little bit. I have 2 pieces of paper and a Post-it note. Of course, I have a Post-it note. But the piece of paper that has been up on the wall for several years now is a page from a book I started designing. I bet you didn't know I started designing a book. I did. It has a lot of different inspiring messages that I've written over the years. And I would say I got 80% of the way done with it, and then I get overwhelmed. And if I get too overwhelmed with a project, I leave it in the dust. But now that I'm talking to you about it, I should probably just publish it on KDP, which is Kindle's publishing arm. But it's this, appropriately, it's this message. So this is what the message says. Perhaps it is appropriate for you right now as well. It says, if you feel like giving up and throwing in the towel, please hang in there. Life is not always easy, and some days take more courage than others. Beyond this moment is a brighter path. There is laughter. There is sunshine. There is inspiration. So please, find your strength to get through this passage. The universe has a way of sorting things out. Release this moment into the waiting arms of your angels. They will help you to walk through this with more faith and grace. A rather appropriate message for where we are, and that has lived scotch taped up to my office wall for years now. And regarding the book, what happens is I got really overwhelmed with InDesign, Adobe's InDesign. I have not been able to figure that program out, and I thought I figured it out, and the file got all messed up, and I gave up. So maybe I'll have another go at it. Maybe I'll do it in Canva or something. I don't know, but it's almost all done. The other piece of paper that is scotch taped to my wall is the information for the service that I use to record my one-on-one sessions. So the phone number is there along with my access code, which you think I would have memorized after all of this time because I have been using this service since 2009. But my mind is not great at retaining numbers. So it's up there if I need it. Then the post-it note is for a Zoom phone number that I can also use because the service that I used for a while to record my one-on-one sessions stopped working. So I got a second service through Zoom that I still haven't canceled. I'm paying $10 a month for that because I'm worried at some point the other service that I use will go away. Okay, but none of this is delightful still. So let's get to something that might be more delightful for both of us. I can't tell you about how crowded this little corner of space is. Oh my gosh, I thought this would be delightful. It's kind of stressing me out now. But don't get stressed because it's my mess, not yours. So there's a little sliver of space between my desk and the bookshelf that is against the side wall. And that little space is where like old cords are, right? You know how we all have so many cords. So it's where the power strip is, it's where the Wi-Fi is, and some pieces of artwork are just lined up against the wall because I don't know what else to do with them. Okay, that part does not delight me at all. In the corner, though, between the bookshelf and the wall, we've kind of placed a big, huge rain stick that's like a big log that we really don't have anywhere else to put, that we bought. Wes and I bought it when we went to the INATS, which is the maybe we didn't buy it there. We bought somewhere at some metaphysical show, and it was reduced because there's a hole somewhere in it, and rain sticks have beans in them, and that's how they make the noise. The beans go through the hollowed out center of the log. So whenever we move it, we always find a bean or two. So we have a leaky rain stick that is there. And then we get to my bookshelf, and perhaps it will delight me more to tell you about my bookshelf. So back back in the 90s. Do you remember the 90s? Good times. Shabby chic was a thing. I loved shabby chic. Slip-covered sofas, painted wood, flowers, like shabby chic. I loved. And at the time, at the economic level in which I was living, I was not really in a place to buy custom furniture. I would buy IKEA furniture, which wasn't really IKEA furniture at the time, because I don't know that IKEA was an enormous thing back then, but there was a place called Plumbers in Los Angeles where you could buy those kind of particle board bookshelves that you would put together yourself. Now you might get them at Office Depot or something. And so that would be my bookshelf, which is fine because that's what anybody had, right? We all had those in our house. But I really wanted a nice bookshelf. And there was a furniture store on, I think it was Fairfax and south of Pico. I think that's where it was. And they would always put furniture out on the sidewalk to attract you into their store. And they had the bookshelf that I wanted. So it's a pretty tall bookshelf. I would say it's probably, 7 feet tall. So it's pretty tall. And it's made of solid wood. And it has this gorgeous crown molding around the top. And it has, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 5 shelves. And then down below it has 2 big drawers. And the drawers have crystal knobs on it. And it's painted this ivory white. And it's beautiful. I think I spent $450 on this. This would have been back in the late 90s, maybe. And even back then, $450 was a really good price for this piece of furniture. And so it's traveled with me. And I could probably do a whole podcast episode just about what's on my bookshelf. And even in the place in my consciousness where I catalog different podcast ideas, one of my ideas at some point is to do an episode about all of the books that are on my bookshelf that I have not yet read, that I have owned for years. And I will not get rid of them because I love the idea that at some point I will read them. And so how many of you have unread books in your possession that have been there for a long time that you don't get rid of because it just delights you to know that they exist in your library? And at some point on a rainy day, you will go, now is the time. Hello, book. I've been waiting for you. Probably it would be more appropriate to say, you've been waiting for me. So I would say I've probably read, 50 or 60% of the books on my bookshelf. So that's pretty good. I don't know what the average would be. I also have pictures. So I do have all of Doreen Virtue's books still on my bookshelf because they were so profoundly meaningful to me that even though she's done a 180 in her spiritual beliefs and she has recalled all of her old content, I still have it on my bookshelf because those books were so important to me at one point. I also have books from Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer. They're wonderful teachers and they channel the guides Oren and Daben. And they have a wonderful book called Opening to Channel. So if you're ever interested in learning more about channeling, it's a fantastic book. And I really could do a whole episode about my bookshelf. Not that I think you would be riveted by it, but it is a sleep podcast, so the bar is pretty low about my needing to keep you entertained. So maybe that'll be a different podcast, but I will just say on the other side of the same shelf as the Doreen Virtue and the Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer books, I have Sark books. Because I love Sark. She has been a huge light in my life, and her books have been very meaningful to me. So, lots more books, and perhaps I will not be sharing those with you right now because that will be a podcast for another day. Then next to the bookshelf, I have tubs of yarn, which if you listened to my crafting episodes, you will know that I developed a little bit of a yarn obsession, and I discovered that in the crafting community, people had stashes of yarn so that you had plenty of yarn to do random projects. And so in the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021, when we were going through this thing you might remember called the pandemic, and I had just recently had bariatric surgery, and my transfer addiction from food went to yarn, I got a lot of yarn. And over the years, I've thought about giving it away, and West goes, don't, because you're just going to want to buy it again. So the safest thing is to hold on to it. Which he's right, because I do use it. I do go grab from my stash to make blankets for people. So I've got a lot of yarn that typically stays out of the view of the camera. I also have some file boxes. I still have a tower of CDs. I'm like Wilma Flintstone over here. Do you still have all of your CDs? Like, I haven't done anything with them. I know back in the day the thing was to rip them to iTunes, but I never wanted to do that. Why would I do that? I have the CD. Why did I need to transfer it to another form? And I don't listen to music enough to make it worthwhile for me to pay for any of the streaming music services. So I do listen every once in a while to whatever I get with my Amazon Prime membership that I pay for anyways. And I've thought about kind of getting rid of the CDs, but why? I already paid for them or got them for free when I worked in the music industry. So they're just sitting in a tower, a big tall tower. And next to the tower is that beautiful big entertainment center that you see behind me in my videos. I love this piece of furniture. I had a similar piece of furniture that I loved even more when I lived in Los Angeles, a big pine entertainment center that I purchased used off of Craigslist. But when I moved, I donated it to the Jewish thrift store because Wes had already purchased this one. So this one already existed in our home in Northern California because we had my apartment in Los Angeles as well as this house for a while in Vallejo. So I love this piece of furniture that you see behind me, and I am a little concerned that through the side window it looks a little cluttered. There's a little side window, which in the past would be where all the stereo equipment would be when we called it stereo equipment. And then it's crazy. Now I can buy this little speaker and it sounds better than any stereo I had in the 90s. But I keep all of my file folders and paper and more pens than I could ever use in a lifetime. And I'm just wondering, do you have too many pens as well? It's like whenever I see pens show up on Amazon, it's like the algorithm says, today's a good day to sell Laurel some more pens. I'm like, yes, I need pens. I never need pens, just so we're clear. I have more than enough pens. And because I'm a weird person, I can never find a pen that writes in black ink, because why would you write in black ink when you could write in purple? So many of my pens are of colors other than black, because I think I only might have one or two pens that write in black. Because why? Why would you do that? And so in the entertainment center behind me, where the television used to go, is now my printer. And Wes, God bless his heart, he's very similar to the way my father was, which is if you need a piece of equipment or an instrument of some kind, a power tool, whatever it is, you get the best the first time so that you don't buy it over and over again. So where I would have been satisfied with a little inkjet printer, Wes said, no, I'm getting you a color laser printer. And he was right. It's a great printer. It prints quickly and beautifully. So behind the closed doors is my beautiful color laser printer, as well as on the sides of the printer are stacked several dozen oracle decks that I never use. Because if any of you love oracle decks, you know that you can't just have one. You need all of them, or many of them. So there are many oracle decks back there that I don't use. And as you will see again, if you watch my videos, there is a file cabinet next to the entertainment center. And on top of the entertainment center is sort of an altar where there are photos that I love and tchotchkes, great Yiddish word, such a great word. You know, beautiful things that are spiritually related, that I adore. And there is a picture, if you've ever noticed in my videos, if you see the white dog, that's my dog Tessa. Her full name is Tessa Bobessa. Of course it is, right? Tessa Bobessa Bleadon. And that is the dog I talk about in the episode of Unexpected Family when I lived with my cousin Susie Bleadon. We both got dogs, and I got Tessa, who is a Samoyed. I had grown up with Samoyeds, and so I adopted her when she was 4 years old. And that's a picture. We had hired a photographer to take pictures of Tessa and Mike. Mike was Susie's dog. And that's a picture of Tessa drinking out of the water fountain at the park off of Pico near 20th Century Fox. Rancho Park, right? I think that's called. So Tessa forever lives on my desk, as does a very sweet picture of Wes and I from our wedding that delights me. So things that delight me are on top of the entertainment center. And then out of view, next to the file cabinet, I have 2 portable batteries. So if the power goes out, we can plug in our phones because we live in earthquake country. And also, every once in a while, our power provider, PG&E, especially during really hot weather when it might be fire season, they'll turn off the power to avoid fires. So we have 2 little jackeries in the corner there that you can't really see. And then as we complete the pan around the door that you see is the door to our bedroom, and then you see another little altar. Again, a beautiful, sweet little piece of furniture that I ordered through the mail before there was this thing called the internet. So that's how long it's been with me. It was at the back of a little magazine. And it was like a handcrafted little sofa table, it was called, because it would be the kind of table that would go behind a sofa. It's very narrow, and it tilts a little bit. So it has to be up against a wall, and I think maybe I spent $40 on it before the internet. That tells you how old it is. I guess it might be called an antique now, because I guess I am an antique now. I'm kidding. So many things that I love are on that altar, and underneath the altar you will see more stuff, which includes boxes that contain genealogical research for both my family and Wes's family. It just lives there because there's nowhere else to put it. And then as we come around, what you can't see is there are 2 French doors. They're small French doors, and they lead to our backyard. And it's lovely because there's lots of light that comes in. And when Nikki was alive, our cat, He was an indoor-outdoor cat. He came to us that way, just so you know. Before you get mad at me for having an indoor-outdoor cat, Nikki was that before he adopted us. And so Nikki would just sit outside of the doors and stare at me. Like, you gonna open the door or what? And I would have to pause my call and say, hold on just a second, I need to open the door for the cat. So my friend Helen will remember that, because inevitably whenever I was having a session with her, Nikki would show up and want to come inside. And so outside is, this time of year especially, it's beautiful because there's lots of green in our backyard. And then as you complete the circuit of the office, there are a few more tubs of yarn and blankets that I have created, another smaller filing cabinet with some files on top of it, and that brings me back to where I am right now, which is sitting at my desk. So I've given you a little 360 of my office, which I do not expect you to find riveting. It's just, when I went to record this episode this morning, I had nothing. It was like, I got nothing. I need to record an episode. And I knew I was not in the mind space to flip through an old magazine or read to you, because I think I've shared with you before that sometimes, depending on the headspace I'm in, these rambling kinds of episodes are the easiest ones for me to record, because they flow. Versus if I'm reading through a magazine, I'm flipping through pages, I'm sort of editing in my head as I go, and this is just rambling. And I really don't hold the bar very high for myself for this to be interesting, because my hope is you're asleep. I mean, if you're asleep, what does it matter that I talked to you about what's in my entertainment center behind me, and that I have a color laser printer versus an inkjet, and how that came to pass? It doesn't really matter. And, again, if we were having lunch as friends, I would not remotely expect you to be interested in what I just shared with you. But it allowed me to fill the past 40 minutes so that you would have a soothing, loving, rambling companion as you drift off to sleep. And that is the genius of a sleep podcast. So there you go. That is what is in my office with me right now, just some of it. Again, maybe I'll do a whole episode just about my bookshelf and talk to you about the books that are there and why, and have I read them? Or do I hope to read them someday? I mean, I have books about watercolor. I don't watercolor. I have watercolors in the garage somewhere, and at some point in my life, I dreamed of being a person who would watercolor. So I have some watercolor books on my bookshelf that I have not allowed myself to. I think I got rid of some of them, but not all of them. There's still one or two hovering there. Anyways, an episode for another day. So, my beautiful friend, I really hope that you're asleep by now, because this has been a very mundane conversation. And I just filled space. I will admit it. This was a space-filling episode. And perhaps you enjoyed it because your house is also filled with mundane things as well. That maybe you look around and you forgot that that Post-it note has been there forever and you don't even know what it means anymore, but you hold on to it just in case it's important. So, welcome to my world. And I wish you, my beautiful friend, the sweetest of dreams. I love you, and I'm profoundly grateful for you. Thanks for hanging out with me. We'll talk again soon. I love you, and thank you.